advanced report. Today, we are going to deep dive into India's green trucking revolution. So stay tuned as we discuss the role of LNG as a key transition fuel in India's commercial vehicles sustainable transportation. With me today is Mr. Anirudh Bhuwalka. Mr. Bhuwalka, thank you for sparing time with us.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Bhuwalka, we wanted to understand a lot of things about LNG as a transition fuel. Let's begin with some numbers that India keeps on throwing, where we know that India has set an ambitious target for itself, but they want to reduce the carbon density to say up to 45% by 2030, which is the end of this decade, and also completely like zero emission by 2070. So the question arises: is LNG going to be the key transition fuel? What do you think? And what is your take on the whole transition fuel, LNG as the option?
Yeah, so thank you for this. So Rajesh, I'll give you a little context. Fundamentally, I don't know whether people realize that India has currently close to 4 million medium and heavy duty vehicles plying. And if you take the published numbers, the pollution that these 4 million trucks do is close to 350 to 450 million tons, depending whose report you're really looking at. But it's a significantly large number. And we all know that 65% of automotive pollution comes from heavy duty trucks, contrary to popular perception of two-wheelers and three-wheelers and four-wheelers. But really, the truck is like one of the biggest polluters. We believe that in the next 10 years, the way the economy is growing, this number is going to double. Now, whether it goes at 6%, 7%, you take a pick. But we believe that this number is going to double over the next decade. And therefore, this 350 or 400 million tons is going to only become worse. Anyways, we are not able to live in the cities today. You can imagine what is going to happen 5 to 10 years from now. So there is a need to decarbonize heavy duty trucking industry immediately. So now, what is the path forward? We talk about LNG, we talk about electric, we talk about hydrogen and any other new technology that might come down the pipe. But if you really look at it from an immediate context, we need an immediate solution here and now. Now, in our view, LNG is a transition fuel, no question about it. Because when you compare LNG to EV or even for that matter hydrogen, it's not as clean as you want it to be. But what is interesting is from an Indian context, we have been the first to launch LNG trucks way back in September 2022. Fast forward to where we are today. We have now clocked more than 1.5 crore kilometers, or almost 15 million kilometers our trucks have clocked. And our experience has been that we are able to move the carbon footprint on these trucks compared to diesel by north of 30%. Now that's huge. Okay. And that brings me to believe that LNG in the short and medium term is going to be the fuel to bet on, because that is available now. Technology is mature, technology is versatile, and we have checked all the boxes to demonstrate that it really moves the carbon footprint.
Understood.
So the long and short of the story is, I think LNG is going to be a game changer for India as a whole. It aligns with the government's target on moving to a gas-based economy. And last but not the least, it checks off all the boxes in terms of carbon footprint, in terms of technology, and in terms of affordability.
Understood. That's a very overview of standpoint of what a manufacturer wants to project, and you have also kind of backed up with the customer trials and the customer studies and the experience that they have had. So I wanted to touch upon the standpoint and the perspective of the customer. Always in the commercial vehicle space, they have this challenge of fuel availability, then the initial acquisition cost, and also about the mileage. And they call it the total cost of operations and the ownership.
Yeah.
How fair, the calculation work when you compare it to the diesel, then the LNG? How are these transporters taking, especially the 55 tonnage, 280 horsepower range where the long haul truck operators operating?
So clearly speaking, if you look at the stakeholders in the value chain, there are three. There is the end customer, the likes of the cement companies, steel companies, FMCG companies, namesake. Then the second is the driver. And the third is the fleet operator who's buying the truck. So let me address each of these three stakeholders. When it comes to the end customer, for them, LNG brings one basic issue of pollution that it solves, which is scope 3 emissions. And the game changer is that today, nobody in the industry wants to pay a premium for logistics.
True.
Okay, they might claim
Yeah.
wanting to go green, but if it comes at a premium,
True.
that's not acceptable.
Certainly.
What we have solved with LNG is that our pitch to the customer is very simple. We make you go green at the cost of diesel.
Fantastic.
So now you tell me which customer worth his salt.
Yeah.
If you go and pitch to him that I'm going to make your logistics cost at the same cost of diesel, make you go green, he's going to turn around and say, no, I don't want to go green. Okay,
great.
it checks off the scope 3 emissions. So customers are extremely bullish and happy to move into LNG at the fastest way possible.
Fine.
And we have demonstrated by having almost top 12 or 13 Fortune 500 India Inc. companies where these LNG trucks are deployed.
Correct.
Now we come to the driver. LNG trucks are 30% less noisy compared to diesel. And on top of that, the diesel fumes are not there. So LNG is a much cleaner fuel.
Yeah.
So as a result, the wellness of a driver is very well looked after.
True.
And last but not the least, the operator. While the upfront capital cost is marginally higher, but on a total operating cost, the commercials on LNG is far in excess of diesel. Okay, so it's a much more profitable product compared to diesel. So across the value chain, it checks the boxes.
So you addressed and touched upon the number one aspect, which was the cost. Then of course the driver comfort and the overall tailpipe emission that it reduces for the corporates. Are there any incentives to the corporates or the fleet operators in buying these trucks from governments, or some interest benefits or tax benefits that?
Unfortunately not. Niti Aayog has also made a recommendation to the government that they should promote LNG trucks in India and therefore come out with fiscal incentive which will support in the short to medium term. We at our end have also done the same. But as we speak today, there are no incremental incentives. For example, EV, the GST is 5%. LNG continues to be 28%, despite the fact that, it moves the needle by about 30 to 35% in terms of pollution. So I hope that government does something on that front, but as of now, no.
Understood. Now, the second aspect of to look into from a fleet operator's perspective, how do you address the power to weight ratio or the whole power dynamics in terms of fuel efficiency and the mileage that they receive? Is it on par with diesel? Is it better than diesel?
No. So LNG trucks to the fleet operator, they get three fundamental benefits of deploying LNG. The first is, of course, they are going to go with a better value-added proposition to the customer to say, look, I'm going to help you clean up your scope 3 emissions. Okay, so I'm going to help you go green. So that's a first and quite a major value proposition given that the complete industry wants to go green. Second is that on the fuel, LNG is cheaper compared to diesel at a retail level. Okay, so there's a fuel arbitrage. And then on the fuel efficiency, LNG trucks are better fuel efficient than diesel.
So there is a range anxiety as well.
So I'll come to the range anxiety. So there is a fuel efficiency arbitrage. There is a fuel arbitrage. So as a combination, it gives you better operating economics. And last but not the least, there is no issue of range because in the trucks that we have launched, we have a 1,000-liter tank, which in one fill gives you anywhere between 1,200 to 1,300 kilometers. Okay, and if you assume Mumbai to Delhi is roughly about 1,600 kilometers, you really need 3 stations between the 2 points, and it kind of solves your range problem. So LNG checks off on all the boxes.
Got it. Again, picking up from the route and the kilometers range that you mentioned, the availability of the LNG stations, how mature is it in that corridor, in the Golden Quadrilateral? Plus, are there any it would be a little awkward to ask an OEM to, help in, say, setting up LNG stations. But is there any way that you are assisting your operators to say, don't worry about these stations? It's there in the road that you operate in.
I think that this is, quite a vicious cycle.
Correct.
The way it works is that when we launched, there was one LNG station in the country. Fast forward to today, there are 12. And like I said, that because range is not such a big problem in LNG, you don't really need too many stations to really get the process going.
Correct.
So as more trucks come into the market, more stations come up. The more stations come up, the more trucks come up. So it is, it's like a flywheel effect. And we are starting to see that now, with our trucks going into the market. And you can see that now there are about 12 LNG stations. And in the pipeline, I'm told that there is more than 25 stations in various stages of construction, which is going to go live. So I think this is clearly driven by demand.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think LNG stations, in my view, is not going to be a concern in another 6 to 12 months from now.
So I think we have moved away from the initial reservation of chicken.
Clearly, I think
where who will come first, whether you will.
That's exactly what we've solved, because historically this was the issue, that the gas stations were saying where's the truck guys were saying where's the gas. Yeah. And finally, somebody had to really put their foot forward and say, okay, look, I'm going to do it and let's move forward. So we've really been the catalyst in this industry and, wanting to lead from the front when it comes to LNG. So I think that ecosystem is starting to play itself out.
Fantastic. So again, coming back to your founding days and the basics, I think you founded the company in 2020, right in the transition phase of BS4 to BS6, when India was transitioning to that new emission standards. Also, I think within a year or two, you launched your first truck in September 22. And I think we also reported that in 23, you clocked 100th truck out of the plant.
Yes, correct.
And also, we have got to know about the, infrastructure, cement companies like the JK Lakshmi, Green Line adopting your trucks. So where are we right now currently? What is your current utilization at the plant? What is your capacity? What is your medium to long term plan?
Yeah. So, I think we just completed the first year. While we launched the trucks in September 2022, we only went live in December of that same year. So really 3 months was hardly anything, but we really completed a full first year of operations in March 24. And in that 1 year, we have now been able to field around 500 trucks in the market. That was the objective, to put that kind of trucks in the market, because the seeding for new technology trucks is very, very important.
Certainly.
And what we have been able to do, we have selected industries, whether it is metals and mining, whether it's FMCG, whether it's oil and gas, whether it is, containers. We have been able to select all these industries and introduce LNG trucks to start to clear the concept out.
Got it.
Because once people are exposed to it, once the ecosystem starts to see it operate, it really has a network effect. So I think that the hard work of the first year is over. And I believe that coming into second year, we are having quite an exponential order book, as we can say. The demand is quite good. Albeit it is small, given that, we are coming from a small base. But be that as it may, our order books are full. And this year, I think, is going to be the next step in the LNG maturity, which you will see more players coming in, more stations coming in, our volume ramp up happening. And I think by next year, this industry will really be ready to move.
Now, since you say you have a good order pipeline, your factory and the setup is everything ready, how much has the partnership with the IVECO Group and the overall setup that you kind of made a very smart factory, a modular factory with localized components? A few words on that. How are you addressing the challenges of making the truck really feasible, and in terms of the initial acquisition cost that the fleet operators worry? the localization components and the manufacturing base. What is the partnership like, and how are you addressing these challenges of reducing the initial acquisition cost of the trucks?
Yeah, so I think fundamentally the partnership with IVECO and their engine company FPT, clearly we were the pioneers in developing that cooperation to launch LNG trucks in India for the first time. As you would know, that India has a very unique power to weight ratio requirement, which is not true for rest of the world. So clearly there was nothing to rely upon in terms of developing technology. But we worked with IVECO Group on that, and the cooperation and the collaboration that we've done with them has been very helpful in bringing this truck out to the market at the speed at which we've been able to do it. Clearly speaking, anybody would appreciate that building a ground zero product, that too, of a new technology into a new market, coming from a ground zero up, has a share of challenges. But fast forward to where we are today, I think that we've managed that terrain very well, and the trucks are doing well, and we've been fortunate to have a great partnership with the IVECO Group in this journey. So I think now our trucks have matured. See, people don't realize that the learning curve that goes in building a product like that is something which anyone will have to go through. You can't fast track the learning curve. And our learning curve over the last 2 years has been substantial. And the way we have tweaked the truck and matured it over the last period of last 12 to 24 months is quite extraordinary. And I can really say that today that LNG, we understand LNG better than most.
Wonderful.
Okay, and more specifically, in an Indian context, because our temperatures are different and the nuances of LNG are just so many. It's unlike diesel. You have venting issues, you have quality issues of the gas, you have issues in your ability to be able to manage this kind of flexibility in your trucks. Then you have to have the driver ecosystem, the ability for driver to adopt this kind of a fueling system, and challenges related to running, operating, maintenance, service and support. The whole value chain of LNG is substantially different than what we are used to in the diesel world.
No, I mean, you touched upon really, right avenues into which this whole ecosystem has to be developed. And I wanted to pick it on the service and maintenance aspect next. How has the service and maintenance for LNG truck operations matured in the last 12 to 24 months? Could you cite some examples or case studies where you have gone way beyond your, duties or comfort zone to accommodate certain requests by fleet operators?
Yeah, so clearly, I think, the whole learning curve of supporting this truck has been relatively new. Okay, so I think everybody is learning along the way. We are just that much far ahead in the game. I think that how to manage LNG trucks from the operator's point of view, it's a combination. It is not that you can just do what you want to do independently of the fleet operator. So it both has to go hand in hand. And plus, what we have done differently on these trucks is that we have really used technology at its cutting edge. For example, we capture 120 data points at 1/100th of a second on a real-time basis. And these trucks are very intelligent. So we are able to track data and have insights into the truck, which historically would not have been possible. And as a result, we are able to, monitor it, manage it, provide service and support, which otherwise, you would be waiting and watching. Today, we can proactively intervene if the fleet operator has to take any action.
Preventive maintenance.
We can have so much analysis that we are able to do on the trucks now that it fast tracks the engineering, it fast tracks the fleet operator's understanding of the trucks, and all in all, the customer wins, right? Because your trucks are performing better, it's better fuel efficient, you're constantly improving that curve. So that's how we are using technology to drive this whole piece.
So how have you segregated these, like service and maintenance? Is there a app or a
No, so
telematics
currently we all our workshops are owned by us.
Okay.
Okay, so we can control, because the new technology, we wanted to control
Sure.
how these trucks are serviced, how they are supported, so on and so forth. So all our workshops currently are owned by us.
These are at what locations?
These wherever the LNG stations are coming up, we have setups going live.
10 to 12?
No, right now the recent setups have just gone live.
Okay.
We don't need a service setup everywhere.
Okay.
We have 5 setups gone live. Another 2 are in the pipeline.
Got it.
End of this year, we should have about 20 setups go live.
Understood. So, I mean, I wanted to understand the overall confidence that you would pass on to a potential fleet operator or customer of yours who would want to get into LNG, a cleaner fuel. Because there are, of course, at this level, I mean, the customers are confused with the fuel choices. You have clean BS6, you have talks about BS7. Of course, you don't have heavy duty trucks may electric yet, but of course, in last mile, there is a lot of electric vehicle penetration. And then there are, as you rightly mentioned, the power to weight ratio challenges. Are there any tonnages or segments in your product basket that you are trying to explore? Like we had started with 55 ton 280 horsepower vehicle. Have you explored any other segment?
So see, any product has its stages of maturity.
True.
So we being the first mover in this space, we want to first make sure that the first product really is matured very well.
Got it.
To the fleet operator, I think the value proposition is very, very clear. You are going to make significant amount of money owning and operating a LNG truck. Hands down. There is no question in my mind. Fuel availability is a non-issue today. Okay, so clearly speaking, and from Blue Energy's point of view, every LNG station, we have a service and support, which is already there with a 24/7 command center, with a 24/7 mobile service van, with our own workshop, so you get quality of parts, quality of training, quality of people, so on and so forth. So I think that we have built this ecosystem now, which provides customers the peace of mind in terms of adopting LNG. As far as the fuel prices are concerned, fuel prices across the board is unanimous. Okay, and it is cheaper than diesel. So even at the current retail prices of fuel, LNG is a great value proposition. And moving forward, I think that LNG prices should only come down.
Having, experiencing the geopolitical issues going on, the wars and the all,
I think,
have an impact on prices?
Clearly speaking, last year, this was a issue due to the Ukraine-Russia war, and there was this spike in gas prices. I think that's behind us. I think a lot of LNG is coming into the market over the next 12 to 24 months. So I think LNG prices are going to be quite stable moving forward.
Understood. Now, I want to also understand your medium to near term, say, vision for your company in terms of different, you mentioned about maturing one segment, but are there any applications or new models being planned that you want to reveal, or what are you working on beyond this point?
So, clearly speaking, we are a clean energy truck company. Okay, that's our ethos. We started Blue Energy with a very simple mission that we want to build a 21st century OEM on clean energy. Okay, so everything that we do is clean. If you look at our product, we started with LNG. We are developing our own EV. On the product side, we will have technology agnostic. So first is the LNG, because that's the short to medium term. Then it's going to be the EV, and sometime in the future is going to be hydrogen. When it comes to the product range, we are going to be staying in the heavy duty side of the equation. So we will straddle the segment, but we will do it very deliberately. We're not the guys who go in and put, hundreds of products out there. It's not going to happen like that. We are going to pick our battles, and we are just going to do it extremely well in what we do. So, we are very focused on each one product at a time and do it extremely well, because it takes that much time and new technology to establish it so that the whole value chain wins. And so from a Blue Energy standpoint, we believe that the market is going to be sizable. Like I said, that you've got 4 million trucks today going to 7 to 8 million. this whole industry is going to transition to green.
Yeah, yeah,
The sooner the better for all of us.
true.
And we just want to participate in that growth story.
Understood. So, is there any timeline given to you, like in each division? Like, of course, now the focus is on LNG, but you also must be updated on the news that a lot of OEMs and, in fact, the fleet operators are looking for electric vehicles, especially in commercial vehicle space. Although there are a handful of them, not too many. Do you think you would be able to cater the fleet operators who want to look for electric vehicles when the charging infrastructure is ready and developed in the heavy duty space?
So we are developing an EV very clearly. According to me, EV comes with its own share of challenges.
Correct.
I think there will be a role that the government plays in fast tracking adoption of EV on heavy duty trucks in India. I believe a lot of work is going on in this direction. So I think EV clearly for the short haul works. One has to solve a few of the challenges in terms of upfront capital cost, charging time, range, and so on and so forth. But if you can solve for all of that, I think that EV clearly is going to be something to look out for in the short to medium term.
Got it. And even while you prepare for EV, is there a timeline given to you, or is there?
We will be coming out with our EV this year.
This year, okay.
For sure.
And how about the FEV, the hydrogen-based fuel cell battery electric vehicle? That will still take a decade or so to come, or do you think by 2035 even that should be a reality in India?
I think the technology is available today.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants an FCEV, the technology is available today. It's no big deal. I think the rest of the infrastructure has to fall in place.
Yeah.
So if you already have an EV, transitioning to an FCEV is not such a big deal. I mean, that technology is available. It's already running in a lot of countries. So that is available. Now, the question really is going to be how viable it is. When is the hydrogen infrastructure for fueling is going to come? At what price they are going to come? I think those are some of the questions which are unanswered. As and when that plays itself out, from a truck point of view, the technology will be there and the trucks will be ready way in time before the hydrogen infrastructure comes in place.
How much have you invested in R&D and the factory setup, and how ready are you to take up these challenges as and when they come, like electric even and the FCEV?
So like I said that, we are fully equity funded, and our LNG trucks are already on the road. So they have already crossed the complete phase of development, and now they are basically on a volume ramp up. Electric, we are in the phase of development, and I think this year you will see electric coming out for sure. So I think we are in a good place. We are not we are not spreading our wings too fast.
True.
Okay, we want to take it one product at a time, do it very well, and instead of going wide, we want to go deep.
Yeah. Lastly, since you have already worked with a handful of companies and corporates who have invested into the green trucking, which is the LNG as a fuel and vehicle, do you think some of the government incentives, policies like the scrappage policy and the implementation of more stringent rules for cleaner fuel would lead them to LNG more? Do you think that is an obvious choice now coming from different fleet operators?
So I think what we are starting to build is an awareness that clean technology works. See, the holy grail of trucking business has always been your ability to compete at the cost of diesel. That's been the holy grail. And everybody's been trying to crack that for the longest time. And I can say that, we are at that inflection point today where you can compete with diesel by going green. And I think that that's the inflection point. So you will really now see transition to green in a very aggressive manner. See, government can come up with incentives to promote in the short term.
True.
Ultimately, the operating economics and the value proposition has to make sense to the end customer, to the stakeholder, to all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. That's when you start to see a mass shift. Otherwise, it's just a concept, that you can showcase and, you can feel good about it. I think that inflection point has come today. So really, I have no doubt in my mind that you are going to see transition to clean technologies like LNG, electric, and maybe hydrogen. How much of what will take off? It's, nobody knows, because really government has a lot to do with it in terms of providing a ecosystem to drive it. But I'm very clear that it is going to move in that direction.
Certainly. And I think Mr. Gadkari in different forums have mentioned how we want to reduce our logistics cost and bring it down to single digit. And compared to, of course, countries like China and Brazil, both where they have a double digit penetration of LNG fuel trucks. Where is India currently in that, whole ecosystem, and where do we think, of course, the sky is the limit, but
while I'm speaking to you today, I continue to be the only one, and we have 500 trucks on the road, so your ecosystem is only 500, to be very honest. But like I said, that if you take China as an example, they launched LNG trucks way back in 2015-16, and they did about 15,000 trucks first year. Second year, leapfrog to 97,000. Wow. Fast forward to today, 30% of their market share is LNG. Okay. So, according to me, there is no reason. And now for India to fast track in the same manner, I think it'll be faster, because simply put, I think that the government is very aligned to drive green. Whether it is moving to a gas-based economy, whether it's moving to an electrification, this government is so aligned in terms of driving this vision forward of moving to a green in a hurry like I've never seen before. Every time I go to meet people in Delhi and officials in the government, I just see the drive and the vision they have for India going green, and that just gives me the that gives me the confidence that India is going to adopt green faster than anybody else. Fantastic. And the fact that now it has diesel parity just changes the nature of the game.
Yeah, certainly.
So I think that we are in for a very exciting time. Once in a century, this opportunity comes by where the complete industry is going to transition from one technology to another. That transition happens just once in a century, and we are fortunate to be in that part. And at Blue Energy, we are fortunate to lead that technology change in the way we are trying to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Anirudh.
Sure, Rajesh.
I wish you all the best with your plans, and look forward to more greener and cleaner fuel technologies.
Sure, you will.